Now to one of the CPAC speakers, Virginia Congressman Randy Forbes. Welcome, Congressman. So am I wrong?
No, Judge, I think you're absolutely right. I think that's the thing that's frustrating most Americans. They feel this administration has a totally different set of rules for them than they have for the rest of America. And their words continue to evolve based on the group that they're speaking to at that particular point in time. And Americans, I think, are getting frustrated with it.
Well, and you know, Congressman, I mean, it is just amazing that so many people in the administration can contradict each other. And then in the end, everybody said, well, we just don't know. But Congressman, I'm going to ask you to take a look at this. CPAC just ended a few hours ago. Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky, of course, winning the straw poll with Senator Marco Rubio right behind him. I want you to take a look at this.
Our president fancies himself as a champion of the middle class. Yet, since he came on scene, even those lucky enough to have a job, they're working more for less.
But the other ulterior motive is if everybody doesn't have skin in the game, then you can just persecute this 1% or this 2% or this 5%. If everybody has skin in the game, you have to be responsible. Because if you come talking about raising taxes, you're raising taxes on everybody, you better have a darn good reason.
And of course, Congressman Sarah Palin and Dr. Ben Carson. What do you think of their comments?
Well, Judge, I think they're right, but I think the interesting thing about every single speaker at CPAC, and I would guess probably almost every participant, there was one thing uniting them, one theme that went through all the speakers, and it was simply this, that the United States is headed in the wrong direction, and we're heading there at breakneck speed. And I think that's something that Americans are embracing right now. And the big excitement about CPAC was how do we turn it around and turn it around quickly, because this administration is not trying to do it.
And are we looking at a new conservative movement, Congressman, in this country? I mean, there was a lot of talk after the election, you know, we have to kind of walk away from our conservative principles, but it didn't sound like that to me at CPAC.
I don't think it is, Judge. I think what we know is this. Liberal policies don't work, but they often sound good. Conservative policies work, but sometimes they don't sound as good because they're tougher. And what we need to do, and I think what we heard at CPAC, is we've got to find a way of messaging that so the American people know that it's conservative principles that are going to continue to give them the jobs they need, protect this country, and determine that, or make sure that they have a determination of their own futures and not some other country or some other group or individual.
And you know what's interesting is the concept that Dr. Carson was talking about of having skin in the game. That seems so opposite to what the Obama administration has talked about, creating this divisiveness between the haves and the have-nots, and you know, the argument or the thinking that there are more have-nots. And you know, but now the conservatives are talking about everybody having skin in the game. How does that change things?
Well, Judge, I think that's important, but also the skin in the game that you talked about at the beginning of your program, just being accountable for your own actions. I mean, we actually laughed when the president told us at a meeting we had when he came over to meet with the Republican conference last week, and he told us that he didn't make the decision to shut down the White House tours. He blamed it on the Secret Service. Can you imagine, Judge, if I took a bad vote and then I said, oh, wait a minute, this wasn't my fault, this was one of my staff members who told me to take this vote. Everybody in that room knew the Secret Service works for the president. They're not going to do anything in the White House without his approval, and yet look at the lack of accountability that they have.
But the amazing thing is that he was very popular until recently. I think this changing of the excuse on the White House tours may have turned around his popularity somewhat. Congressman, very quickly before I let you go, who was your favorite speaker at CPAC?
You know, Judge, I think all those speakers were really good. I still think Rubio, though, comes across with just a passion and, you know, a substance that I think really just electrified that group. But they had a lot of exciting, wonderful speakers there, and it was just to listen to all of them and get those exciting ideas and the fact that we can turn this nation around and once again put it on a road to take it to its destiny.
All right. Congressman Forbes, thanks so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. And